Or peace or not, alike to me he comes. His fraught we soon shall know, he now arrives. I come not, Samson, to condole thy chance, as these perhaps, yet wish it had not been, though for no friendly intent. I am of Gath, men call me Harapha, of stock renowned as Og or Anak in the Emims old, that Kiriathaim held. Thou knowest me now, if thou at all art known. Much I have heard of thy prodigious might and feats performed, incredible to me, in this displeased that I was never present on the place of those encounters, where we might have tried each other's force in camp or listed field, and now am come to see of whom such noise hath walked about in each limb to survey, if thy appearance answer loud report. The way to know were not to see but taste. Dost thou already single me? I thought Gives and the mill had tamed thee. Oh, that fortune had brought me to the field where thou art famed, to have wrought such wonders with an ass's jaw. I should have forced thee soon with other arms, or left thy carcass where the ass lay thrown. So had the glory of prowess been recovered to Palestine, won by a Philistine from the unforeskinned race, of whom thou bearest the highest name for valiant acts, that honor certain to have won by mortal duel from thee, I lose, prevented by thy eyes put out. Boast not of what thou wouldst have done, but do what then thou wouldst, thou seest it in thy hand. To enter combat with a blind man I disdain, and thou hast need much washing to be touched. Such usage as your honorable lords afford me assassinated and betrayed, who durst not with their whole united powers in fight withstand me single and unarmed, nor in the house with chamber ambushes close banded durst attack me, no, not sleeping, till they had hired a woman with their gold, breaking her marriage faith to circumvent me. Therefore, without feigned shifts, let be assigned some narrow place enclosed, where sight may give thee, or rather flight, no great advantage on me. Then put on all thy gorgeous arms, thy helmet and brigadine of brass, thy broad habergeon, vant brass and greaves and gauntlet, add thy spear, a weaver's beam, and 7 times folded shield. I only with an oaken staff will meet thee, and raise such outcries on thy clattered iron, which long shall not withhold me from thy head, that in a little time, while breath remains thee, thou oft shalt wish thyself at Gath, to boast again in safety what thou wouldst have done to Samson, but shalt never see Gath more. Thou durst not thus disparage glorious arms, which greatest heroes have in battle worn. Their ornament and safety had not spells and black enchantments, some magician's art, armed thee or charmed thee strong, which thou from heaven feign'st at thy birth, was given thee in thy hair, where strength can least abide, though all thy hairs were bristles ranged, like those that ridge the back of chafed wild boars or ruffled porcupines. I know no spells, use no forbidden arts. My trust is in the living God, who gave me at my nativity the strength, diffused no less through all my sinews, joints, and bones than thine, while I preserved these locks unshorn, the pledge of my unviolated vow. For proof hereof, if Dagon be thy god, go to his temple, invocate his aid with solemnest devotion, spread before him how highly it concerns his glory now to frustrate and dissolve these magic spells, which I to be the power of Israel's God avow, and challenge Dagon to the test, offering to combat thee his champion bold, with the utmost of his godhead seconded. Then thou shalt see, or rather to thy sorrow soon feel, whose God is strongest, thine or mine. Presume not on thy God, whate'er he be. Thee he regards not, owns not, hath cut off quite from his people, and delivered up into thy enemy's hand. permitted them to put out both thine eyes, and fettered send thee into the common prison, there to grind among the slaves and asses thy comrades, as good for nothing else, no better service, with those thy boisterous locks, no worthy match, for valor to assail, nor by the sword of noble warrior so to stain his honor, but by the barber's razor best subdued. All these indignities, for such they are, from thine, these evils I deserve and more. Acknowledge them from God inflicted on me, justly, yet despair not of his final pardon, whose ear is ever open, and his eye gracious to readmit the suppliant, in confidence whereof I once again defy thee to the trial of mortal fight, by combat to decide whose God is God, thine or whom I with Israel's sons adore. Fair honor that thou dost thy God, in trusting he will accept thee to defend his cause, a murderer, a revolter, and a robber. Tongue doughty giant, how dost thou prove me this? Is not thy nation subject to our lords? Their magistrates confessed it, when they took thee as a league breaker and delivered bound into our hands. For hadst thou not committed notorious murder on those 30 men at Ascalon, who never did thee harm, then like a robber strippedst them of their robes. The Philistines, when thou hast broke the league, went up with armed powers thee only seeking. To others did no violence nor spoil. Among the daughters of the Philistines I chose a wife, which argued me no foe, and in your city held my nuptial feast. But your ill-meaning politician lords, under pretense of bridal friends and guests, appointed to await me 30 spies, who threatening cruel death constrained the bride to wring from me and tell to them my secret, that solved the riddle which I had proposed. When I perceived all set on enmity, as on my enemies, wherever chanced, I used hostility, and took their spoil, to pay my underminers in their coin. My nation was subjected to your lords. It was the force of conquest. Force with force is well ejected, when the conquered can. But I, a private person, whom my country as a league breaker gave up bound, presumed single rebellion, and did hostile acts. I was no private, but a person raised with strength sufficient and command from heaven to free my country. If their servile minds me their deliverer sent would not receive, but to their masters gave me up for naught. The unworthier they, whence to this day they serve, I was to do my part from heaven assigned, and had performed it, if my known offense had not disabled me. Not all your force, these shifts refuted. Answer thy appellant, though by his blindness maimed for high attempts, who now defies thee thrice to single fight, as a petty enterprise of small in force. With thee a man condemned, a slave enrolled, due by the law to capital punishment. To fight with thee no man of arms will deign. Camest thou for this, vain boaster, to survey me, to descant on my strength, and give thy verdict? Come nearer, part not hence so slight informed, but take good heed my hand survey not thee. O Beelzebub! Can my ears unused hear these dishonourers, and not render death? No man withholds thee, nothing from thy hand, fear I incurable. Bring up thy van. My heels are fettered, but my fist is free. This insolence other kind of answer fits. Go, baffled coward, lest I run upon thee, though in these chains bulk without spirit vast, and with one buffet lay thy structure low, or swing thee in the air, then dash thee down to the hazard of thy brains and shattered sides. By Ashtaroth, ere long thou shalt lament these braveries in irons loaden on thee. His giantship is gone, somewhat crestfallen, stalking with less unconscionable strides, and lower looks, but in a sultry chaff. I dread him not, nor all his giant brood, though fame divulge him father of 5 sons, all of gigantic size, Goliath chief. He will directly to the lords, I fear, and with malicious counsel stir them up, some way or other yet further to afflict thee. He must allege some cause in offered fight, will not dare mention, lest a question rise whether he durst accept the offer or not, and that he durst not plain enough appeared. Much more affliction than already felt they cannot well impose, nor I sustain, if they intend advantage of my labours, the work of many hands, which earns my keeping, with no small profit, daily to my owners. But come what will, my deadliest foe will prove my speediest friend, by death to rid me hence, the worst that he can give to me the best. Yet so it may fall out, because their end is hate, not help to me. It may with mine draw their own ruin who attempt the deed. Oh, how comely it is, and how reviving to the spirits of just men long oppressed, when God into the hands of their deliverer puts invincible might, to quell the mighty of the earth, the oppressor, the brute and boisterous force of violent men, hardy and industrious to support tyrannic power, but raging to pursue the righteous and all such as honor truth. He all their ammunition and feats of war defeats, with plain heroic magnitude of mind and celestial vigor armed, their armories and magazines contemns, renders them useless, while with winged expedition, swift as the lightning glance he executes his errand on the wicked, who surprised lose their defense, distracted and amazed. But patience is more oft the exercise of saints, the trial of their fortitude, making them each his own deliverer and victor over all. That tyranny or fortune can inflict either of these is in thy lot, Samson, with might endued above the sons of men, but sight bereaved, may chance to number thee with those whom patience finally must crown. This idle's day hath been to thee no day of rest, laboring thy mind, more than the working day thy hands. And yet perhaps more trouble is behind, for I descry this way some other tending in his hand. A sceptre or quaint staff he bears, comes on amain, speed in his look. By his habit I discern him now a public officer, and now at hand his message will be short and voluble.